Mauricio Pochettino just made the decision that changes everything for American soccer. U.S. Soccer announced this morning, August 3rd, that Pochettino signed a contract extension keeping him as head coach of the United States men's national team through the 2030 World Cup. Not a one-year deal, not a wait-and-see arrangement, a 4-year commitment that locks him in through the next full tournament cycle, through qualifying, through a World Cup that'll be played across Morocco, Portugal, and Spain. And the reaction from the international football world tells you exactly how significant this is, because this isn't just any coach choosing to stay. This is a 54-year-old manager with 2 decades of elite European club experience, a resume built at Tottenham Hotspur, Paris Saint-Germain, and Chelsea, choosing the United States over what everyone assumed would be an inevitable return to the Champions League circuit. Let's start with what actually happened, because the timeline here matters. Pochettino originally joined the USMNT back in September 2024. That was less than 2 years ago. His original contract was worth approximately $6 million per year, which made him one of the highest-paid national team coaches in the world at the time. The job was supposed to be a short-term project, get the U.S. ready for a home World Cup, navigate the pressure of co-hosting, then see what happens. What happened was this summer, the United States won its group at the 2026 World Cup with a 2-win, 1-draw record in group play. They beat Bosnia and Herzegovina 2-0 in the round of 32. Then they ran into Belgium on July 6th at Seattle Stadium and lost 4-1 in the round of 16. Tournament over, summer over, and immediately the speculation started, because that's how it works in international football. A European manager takes a national team job, has a decent run, gets eliminated, and the club rumors start circulating within 48 hours. The pattern is so predictable you could script it. Manager returns to Europe, takes a Premier League or La Liga job, national team hires the next guy. Cycle repeats, except Pochettino just broke the script. Today's announcement doesn't just extend his contract, it brings his entire coaching staff with him. Jesus Perez, Miguel D'Agostino, Tony Jimenez, Sebastian Pochettino, his son Silvia Tuya. The whole technical operation that built the tactical framework for this summer stays intact through 2030. That's not a coach hedging his bets. That's institutional continuity on a scale American soccer has never seen at the senior men's level. And here's where it gets interesting from an international reaction perspective, because that's what this channel covers. How does the world react when America does something in sports that breaks the expected pattern? European football media spent this summer waiting for Pochettino to come back. They didn't say it explicitly during the tournament, but the subtext was obvious in every profile, every tactical breakdown, every interview question. This was supposed to be a temporary American detour for a manager whose natural habitat is the Premier League or League One. The assumption wasn't just common, it was universal. And now that assumption just got shattered in a single press release, because Pochettino choosing to stay through 2030 sends a signal that's impossible to ignore. It says American soccer isn't a stepping stone anymore. It says a manager with his pedigree believes there's a long-term project here worth committing to, worth turning down European opportunities for, worth betting 4 years of his career on. That's the part that's going to sting in certain European football circles, not because they begrudge the United States having a good coach, but because it forces a reckoning with something that have been reluctant to admit, that the USMNT job with the right resources and the right timeline can compete with elite club jobs for managerial talent. Now let's talk about the money, because that's part of the story, and we're not going to pretend it isn't. The contract extension was financed in part by Ken Griffin, the founder of Citadel, and Scott Goodwin, co-founder of Diameter Capital. U.S. Soccer didn't disclose exact financial terms, but the fact that private financing is involved tells you this isn't a standard federation budget situation. This is American sports infrastructure doing what it does best, finding money to keep elite talent when it matters. That model doesn't exist in most of international football. National federations operate on sponsorship revenue, FIFA distributions, and ticket sales. They don't have billionaire backers writing checks to extend coaching contracts. The fact that the United States does and is willing to use that advantage is going to generate its own subset of reactions from football purists who think national teams should operate on purely public federation budgets. But here's the reality. If that funding structure keeps Pochettino in place through 2030, it works. And if it works, other federations are going to start asking why they're not doing the same thing. So what does this actually mean for the next 4 years? First, it means stability. The U.S. doesn't have to run another coaching search in 2027. They don't have to rebuild tactical systems or reintegrate a new staff. Pochettino's methodology, his player evaluation framework, his pressing principles, everything that got installed over the past 2 years stays in place. That's a structural advantage most national teams don't get. Second, it means 2030 qualifying starts with a clear vision. Pochettino knows his timeline. He knows his roster is going to turn over in certain positions. He knows which young players he's developing now will be in their prime in 4 years. That kind of long-term planning is rare in international football, where coaching changes often happen right before or right after a major tournament. Third, and this is the part international media is going to focus on, it means the U.S. is treating the 2030 World Cup in Morocco, Portugal, and Spain as a genuine competitive target, not just a participation trophy. You don't lock in a coach of Pochettino's caliber through 2030 if the goal is just to get out of the group stage. You do it if you believe the team can make a deep run. That's the ambition level on display here. And fourth, it changes the perception of American soccer in the global coaching market. The next time a top-tier international manager is considering options, they're going to remember that Pochettino chose the USMNT over European clubs. That creates precedent. That makes the job more attractive to the next generation of elite coaches who might have previously dismissed it as a short-term gig. Now let's address the elephant in the room, the round of 16 exit, because some of the reaction to today's announcement is going to be skeptical. The United States lost 4-1 to Belgium. That's not a close game. That's not a narrow defeat that could have gone either way. That's a tactical and physical beatdown in a knockout round on home soil. So why extend the coach who presided over that result? Here's the answer, and it's the answer that separates professional sports analysis from reactionary fan sentiment. You evaluate a coach on the full body of work, not a single game. Pochettino took a team that was in organizational chaos in 2024 and turned it into a group stage winner at a World Cup in less than 2 years. He installed a playing style. He built a coaching infrastructure. He navigated the pressure of a home tournament and got the U.S. into the knockout rounds, where they beat Bosnia and Herzegovina before running into a Belgium team that was, on that day, simply better. That's not failure. That's progress. And U.S. soccer clearly agrees because they just committed to 4 more years of it. The other thing to remember is that Pochettino's reputation wasn't built on winning trophies. It was built on developing systems, improving players, and getting teams to overperform their talent level. That's exactly what the USMNT needs right now. Not a manager who's going to demand $200 million in transfers. A manager who's going to extract maximum value from the player pool that exists and build towards something sustainable. That's what this extension represents. Sustainability, continuity, long-term thinking in a sport where most national teams operate on two-year panic cycles. So what happens next? The immediate focus is going to shift to September when this channel transitions coverage to NFL international games. But the Pochettino extension is going to be a story that plays out over months, not days. Every U.S. camp, every friendly, every qualifier is now going to be evaluated through the lens of 2030. Is this team building towards something? Are the young players developing? Is the tactical system evolving? And internationally, expect this decision to get analyzed, debated, and second-guessed in every football market that thought Pochettino was coming back. The Premier League clubs that were reportedly interested, the La Liga sides that could have used his profile, they're all going to have to reckon with the fact that a manager they assumed was theirs chose the United States instead. That's the story. That's the angle. A European pedigree manager with every reason to return to club football just committed 4 years to American soccer. And the world is going to react exactly the way it always does when the United States makes a power move in a sport it's not supposed to care about this much. with surprise, with skepticism, and eventually with respect.